Painful Lessons, Tyler Ramsey. My name is Tyler Ramsey. We own mistakes. That's what we say at Painful Lessons. I think it's the catchiest of phrases. And we have a guest today. So I am an artist. I love the art of growth, but I also love painting and murals and all kinds of stuff. I, over time, have become a multimedia artist. And I like adding all kinds of things like neon art to my paintings. And I like to add collage. I have all kinds of fun. But there is an artist that I have been in love with for quite some time. And I even have collaborated with, actually, no, I should say, one time I led this great mural campaign and I was financed by Tom's Shoes. And we did over 100 murals around the country, and it was all fueled by a real passion to try to lower the gun violence that was happening in schools. And someone that was so incredibly awesome and professional to deal with was my friend Phil Brody. Phil Brody, amazing. Great to have you here.
Great to be here. Great introduction.
Yeah, what a pleasure, dude.
Yeah.
And you have like by the way, anyone that is into street art, they have like a tag. They have like a cool thing. And you're famously known as Wordsmith.
Wordsmith without the vowels.
Without the vowels. Well, if you spell it out, WRDSMTH.
Yep. And that was just like I started, like I'm a writer. I've said that in every interview that I've done. I'm a writer first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I've written in a lot of different mediums through the years, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But 12 years ago, I was spending so much time in front of the computer that I just got a notion to do street art. And I knew it would be word-based street art. And that led to an image of a typewriter that, a page coming out of it featuring my words.
Yeah.
But Wordsmith came from, at first it was just with the vowels and it was taken on Instagram. That's how simple it was. And I'm like, oh, damn, I love that name. I removed the vowels and it was available. And I also thought it was super cool. Like I'm like, oh, Wordsmith without the vowels. That's kind of cool, So, and again, and I don't have an ego. Like I was just doing this for me and having fun. I thought it was a hobby. I never expected to make a dime. And I put it on Instagram because I just wanted a catalog. Like that's what I thought it was at the time, a place to put pictures that you could go back and say, oh, I did that, a couple years ago or months ago. And that's just perfect timing because Instagram was just starting, just blowing up, and people liked my work. They liked my words, and I don't know, it just completely took off. And after about a year and a half or a year, I was doing it full time.
If I could go back in time and do that campaign again, I would have chosen only a few artists and had them go to different places. And I think that would have even been more impactful. I was so impressed, dude. You were it also, you whipped out everything that we needed from you. You sort of you work so fast.
I mean, I love what I do, but yeah, I'm like once I get you approached me with the idea, and I used to work in advertising. That's another part of my story. So it was like getting a creative brief, and it was just like, here's what we're looking to do. And I immediately, my creative brain kicks in, and I just came up with a couple concepts that you embraced. And I wish I could have done more. Like it was great to do that, but I think I did one here in LA. I forgot where it is. Is it in Sherman Oaks? It's
in Sherman. No, it's in like Thousand Oaks.
Thousand Oaks. Yeah. And then one in New York and one in Philly. I don't know if there were more than that, but it was just phenomenal. But it was great. Yeah.
I want to go back in time because it's funny when you say, I wish I would have done more. Seeing you everywhere made me kind of negotiate against myself, where I was like, oh, he's such a big time artist. I don't know. I feel like I'm asking him for such a favor to keep doing these. And so I didn't ask you for like way more.
Yeah, that's
I would have liked to get 100 out of
that
you.
that literally is something to go back in time, because I'll be honest, like I do this full time,
Yeah.
and I've been very lucky. Like, I get a lot of opportunity. I work with companies and
Big
commissions
brands.
that people ask, and it's awesome. But I love what I do.
Yeah.
So, and I'm terrible at poker. So if, let's say, a school comes to me, I just did a school. They came to me, and I don't know what my fee is. We're making it up as we go along.
Yeah.
But, I say, okay, they can't afford my fee, but I will pay it forward. The opportunity to paint at a school to inspire little kids
Yeah.
is, I'll just jump at that chance. So this is where I'm bad at playing poker. I just tell them, what do you have? What's in your budget? Because this is going to happen. Just tell me what would you have. And that's not a good poker player. But I always say this, or I've said this a couple times since I started painting at schools. The first time a school asked me to do it, I go, sure, I want to inspire a younger generation. And then they go, will you talk to the kids? And I'm like,
Hell
wait,
yeah.
I'm a role model? Like, I'm breaking the law. I'm a street artist doing renegade work. And I was like, I'm a role model. So it was great to talk to them, and the questions were incredible. So through the years, I've done a lot of schools, and I jump at the chance. And this is what I'm getting at. I always say, if a street artist came to my school when I was young,
Yeah.
my mind would have been blown, and the trajectory of probably doing what I do now would have just accelerated. It would have blown me away.
Totally.
And I see it on the faces of the kids,
Yeah.
no matter what. And it's awesome to tell them to take chances, to dive into pools of unknown,
Yeah.
to just, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to figure it out yesterday. It's like life is about figuring it out. And the people that I'm closest to in life have reinvented themselves again and again and again. And I know people are probably laughing now because I'm talking about schools, and these are elementary school to high school, but it resonates with these kids.
It does.
It literally, they go, you're telling me to paint outside the lines, to take chances, to just be creative. And I think they need to hear that. I think every generation needs to hear that.
I went on my mom volunteered to teach some kids when I was a young kid, to teach some older kids about discovering stuff at a museum. And I went along with her, and that experience blew my mind.
Yeah.
And that's so crazy. I tell her this. I don't tell her enough, actually. But it blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, art is like this, not just like this.
It was
Cool.
in me even before I realized it, because like when I went to trips to museums when I was a kid, and I'm still this kid,
Yeah.
I will be the person that wants to get so close to a piece to figure out how they did it that the guard is like, hey, you got to back up. But I literally, I'm like, how did they, get these brush strokes? What the hell are they doing? I'm looking at how they made the canvases and the sides of them. And I did that as a kid, and I didn't even realize what I was doing, but the creativity was always in me. It's always was the written word that I focused on. But then when I started doing street art, it made me, when people wanted commissions and wanted the work in their lives and in their home, it made me want to be a better artist, with paintbrush, spray paint. So I kind of met my words. That's what I always believed in. I think this whole thing, if we're talking about wordsmith, falls apart if I'm not a good writer. But it made me want to be a better artist, and was learning how to make better stencils, use paint, and techniques and everything like that. And I continued to learn.
Let me create a context for anyone that doesn't know, and I will actually insert some photos of your work. But you are, what I know you as, is you do a stencil of a typewriter.
Mhm.
That's you always use the same design of this typewriter.
Yes.
And then what comes out of it is paper,
Mhm.
and that's the big image. And sometimes it's gigantic. And then you have some really positive, sometimes romantic, emotional words on it.
Yeah. And let me back up. So that's one thing like a lot of people don't realize is every typewriter that you've ever seen of mine has been painted, or I should say 99.9% have been painted. Like when I started, I loved the idea that I came up with, and personally, not egotistical, but I loved the idea because as a writer, it made sense. Typewriter plus page featuring my words.
Yeah.
But that also incorporated the two largest aspects of street art: stencils, usually, and wheat pasting. So I did start off, and I painted every typewriter you've ever seen. And then I started wheat pasting pages, and I still do, like smaller ones with an 8.5 by 11 page, or even like what I call a 6-foot piece can have a paper page. But over time, and especially doing walls, you want them to last longer. I started doing all paint pieces.
Yeah.
So a large number of the pieces you see of mine are all paint, and that's still using a stencil to make the typewriter plus the words. But that's also part of my technique. Like, I am very prolific, but I cut all those stencils.
Yeah.
I mean, the words. I used to cut all the typewriter stencils, but now I get some laser cut. But the larger ones that we're talking about, I still cut by hand. And then I've gone away from that. Oh, not gone away, but I've added to my repertoire pieces that just don't do the typewriter plus page. There's large words, there's imagery, there's things like that. And there's always a typewriter somewhere, like maybe in the signature. But I love hand cutting. What I'm getting at is I love hand cutting all those stencils. It's part of my process. I love that time in the studio. I'm able to work very quickly when I get to a job, whether it's renegade or commission, because 75% of the work is done before I get there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Figuring out, what I'm doing, creating the stencils and everything like that. So I can work very quickly.
And you come from a place where a lot of times there's an illegal element to it, where you're just kind of tagging.
Absolutely. Well, that's the reason stencils, are part of the street art world, because you want to do the work quickly, and not get caught, so and again, there's a lot of different techniques you can do in street art. You can go stickers, you can go freehand, and everything in between. But right in between there is wheat pasting, which you've created your art before you get there, and then you're just wheat pasting the poster on the wall, gluing. It's like wallpaper paste basically, but you're gluing it on the wall. And then there's stencils, which you want to do an image, but you want to do it quickly, and it could be multi-layered, but you're laying down stencils, painting with spray paint, which dries very quickly, and then putting the next layer on. Again, my technique combined the two, and I love that about it. And I love it to this day. I was going to say in the beginning, but it's great to evolve also and figure out, different ways to do it.
Totally.
Yeah. And now you spoke about that, like I used to, and I guess I still rush. Like if I'm doing something renegade, you know what I mean? You have to be smart, but I stopped getting up in the middle of the night or staying up or getting up at 4:00 in the morning a couple years in, because I realized, well, first of all, people liked my work, you know what I mean? And I feel like I'm beautifying, not destroying. So there might be a difference between tagging and what I do. You know what I mean? That might be a controversial statement for some people, but I think there's a difference. What I'm getting at is I realized if I show up at noon at a wall and just don't look over my shoulder and act like I'm supposed to be there, I can get away with a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of slowed down and just said, I believe in what I'm doing. I'm going to do it during the day. I'm going to relax. And that's another reason that I was able to be very prolific, because I'm always taking the art with me anywhere I go. But what was I going to say? But it's funny, the times I take chances, most of the time I get a message from that building owner or the restaurant owner or the bar, and they'd be like, oh my God, we love the piece you did. You know what I mean? And it starts a relationship. So I've been very lucky that people do embrace, my work and my words. I get some hate, but that's a whole different topic. But
you get some hate. What kind of hate do you get? I like that.
Who
who of all the things?
Oh, this is a great topic.
I'm surprised that anyone would hate on you.
Well, first of all, no matter what you do in the streets, people are gonna comment on it. You know what I mean?
I was really surprised by how, like, I ended up in, especially when I went to Miami and tagged up some stuff. Boy, I got some really angry people going, I own this wall. I'm like, you own the wall?
Yeah.
Like. And it was like they didn't own the building or the wall. What they did is they had decided that this is there and this is 100%. Their territory.
Yeah.
And like
gang stuff.
Gang
tagging.
Yeah,
we got into fights.
Even street artists, like, it can get very territorial. And it's
Wynwood is very. It's like every inch of footage of wall space in Wynwood is claimed. 100%.
And even like here on Melrose, I mean, Wynwood is amazing, but even here on Melrose, the graph guys will come out and reclaim walls because they were doing them 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I get that, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But at the same time, I think there's enough walls for everybody. So it's kind of like, it always kills me when you have I like pioneering walls. So if I pioneer a wall, and do something that's risky and it stays, and if a graph guy comes and just graphs over it, you know, because he doesn't like what I do, I'm like, dude, you could have done your piece, you know, 3 feet to the left or right. And it's not just graph artists; it's this other, you know what I mean? It's just the nature of the streets that things get, you know, whatever tagged, people go over each other and things like that. But I'm like, there's enough walls for everybody.
Our mutual friend Meg Zaney, the artist Meg Zaney, I'm friends with her because we connected because I had put up something and then she reached out and she goes, I curate that wall. What do you think you're doing? And I was like, what? There were like 8 things on it.
Yeah,
she's like, yeah, Meg, go through me.
You know, Meg, like she's just such a great person, but even she's territorial.
She's very territorial.
She's like, what are you doing?
So much respect. But she's like, yeah, you got to go through me.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, fine. I get it. You know what? It's like I one time had to deal with someone to put up art on a certain wall, and I had to paint over a sick piece of art that was risk rock.
Yeah.
What does he go by? He just goes risk
now, but it was risk rock back in the day.
Yeah, risk. And freaking Todd McFarlane, this other legendary artist who's known for doing comic books.
I'm a comic book kid. Like you said, Todd McFarlane. Are there 2? Like he was
one of the greatest artists of all time, and they had done this thing about this like promotion for Spawn together, and it broke my heart to paint over. And I had messaged Risk about being part of this campaign, and he said yes, but in that space of time, I had actually painted over something that he did, and I go, I should just tell you that I hope this doesn't rub you the wrong way.
Yeah. But
there's someone who owned a wall, and I paid them, and when I got there, I realized it was your stuff, and I was like, honestly, what we did, I was quite proud of it, but it still wasn't as good as what you had.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart because I also love Spawn, and I love
it. Is tough, yeah.
And I never heard from him after that.
Yeah, but you did you did the right thing. Like I reach out if I'm in that situation. There's been a couple of times where it's like the wall has been changing and you got to go over, and it's just it's a tricky thing. But I never got as far as the streets, and this is just me. I'm just stating a fact about myself. I will never go over anybody. Like, again, I think there's walls in for anything. The time I'm saying is what you're saying. The building was changing it over, and they're like, hey, we want to change this art, and I had to go over like some artists, but it's tough. But yeah, I just it's the nature of the streets.
Can you imagine going over like a RETNA?
No. I think I would say no to the job.
You're like, dude, I do not want that smoke.
Yeah, I would say no to the job at that point.
He would come after you. Yeah. He would legit come after you.
Yeah.
Someone would get beaten up. Well, someone involved would get beaten up.
Yeah.
LA that guy Weekly is a trip.
He is a trip. LA Weekly one time did an article about art on the streets, and it was basically RETNA and Wordsmith, and the whole article was about us. And I saw him at a show maybe a month after it dropped, and I was like, I think I'm gonna go. And I was like, I think I'm gonna go up and talk to him. And I go, hey, I'm Wordsmith, LA Weekly. He goes, that article was awesome. And he was the nicest guy. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, I think it depends what day you catch him on, but he was the nicest guy where it was just like, oh, that article was so great. It was such a cool angle and this and that, blah, blah, blah. So we bonded over that. But yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan, and he's such an incredible character.
100%.
And I know some people have different experiences with him. I had a great, amazing experience with him. I had painted this Ferrari at this thing that they unveiled at Art Basel. And I did this like live performance at Art Basel. It's a gig of all the gigs. I'm so proud of it. I'm so happy. Well, the only reason that I got it is because they had gone to RETNA and he said no. And I went up to him we were at the Peterson Auto Museum, where there was I think it was like an art exhibit for what's that dude that does the characters? He died of AIDS. Okay, so anyway,
yeah.
I saw him, and it was all because all these artists had painted on cars, and I go, dude, I want you to know, I'm like, I got a gig that you turned down, and it's one of my best gigs, favorite gigs I've ever had. I'm like, so great, and I was like, I have so much respect for you, and he's like, what the hell? Who told you that I turned that down? And I'm like, oh my gosh, and,
open up a can of worms.
yeah, and no, I could tell that in that moment I'd really opened up a can of worms. But he was probably like, motherfucker. And then I go, and by the way, what did you use to do this one project that I love that? And he was like, I use this mop, and it's like this, and I thought he was A+. Love the guy.
100%. Yeah, and such a talented artist. I mean, his stuff it's the kind of stuff you just stop
so
and
authentic.
stare at, and I have, like, you just look at it and it's just
Go RETNA.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
But no one has made as big of a mark on LA, and I think you're probably as prolific in New York, and
I mean, LA's the bread and butter. I mean, I started here and I love doing art here. I did move to London for 2 years, but I was coming back here for jobs and stuff. But yeah, I think the most work is here. But yes, I've made my mark in a lot of different cities, and I love New York. That's a risky city to do renegade work in, but I still aspire to it and do it. But and Chicago and London and Paris, I love traveling. The art always comes with me, but that's also part of my technique, that my stencils are like durable and portable. Like I can just roll them up and take them with me on a plane. So it's pretty great.
You are I'm very jealous about how easy it is for you to travel. A lot of times I feel, because I'm always making up my mind what I'm going to do as I go. I'm like, I think I need to take all of my supplies that I've ever had.
Yeah.
And you can, as you look around, you can see, the other thing I listen, I'm not going to use the word jealous, but that I'm sure you appreciate about yourself as well, is that you have locked into a technique and kind of a vibe that you are very clear on, and then you just keep evolving that. I mean, I've been kind of going at it since 2006, and I still find that I'm most excited and creative when I'm going into another new thing and another new thing. And
there's a lot of different types of artists, but there are two different types of people that. And it's so funny. I'll tell a funny story that involves Meg Zaney again. But there are people that just like doing different things, you know what I mean, and hopping from this and that. And I am the person, you see it in my work, that I figured out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it just worked for me. If I did a couple things before, I did like some sticker stuff and I was figuring out, I think, what I wanted my voice to be in the street art world. But once I figured it out,
sure, that
was my thing. And that's the funny story. It's like when Meg was starting, and there's an artist in San Francisco named Finch. And we were all sitting around talking, and we were talking about Meg's work. And Finch was like, do you know Finch? He does the honey bears. Like, he probably...
I don't know if I know Finch.
But he goes, you need a thing. And Meg's like, no, I don't. And he's like, you need a thing. And they went back and forth like a tennis match, like 10 times. It's one of the funniest stories. And to this day... like, I think Meg has a thing, but her thing is also, like going outside of her thing and just doing whatever, which is what you're saying. But it was the funniest conversation because I agreed with Finch, but she was just of the mindset. And there are artists of the mindset that are like, no, I'm gonna do, a lot of different things, and
I'm gonna keep popping around.
Yeah.
I can't. No matter how many times I go, okay, this should just be my thing. I'm gonna stick with this thing. Go, but I'm also excited, and then I swear I don't stick.
Yeah.
I think I'm a popper. I like calling him a popper. Pop around like that. Meg has done. I like the strawberry shortcake, and I thought, boy, she's gonna stick with that forever, and she didn't stick with that forever. No. It's like great.
She does the strawberries every now and then, but very abstract ones. But there's another thing, and I'm not going to name names, but sometimes people have a really good thing that they start to resent, and they're like, I don't want to do that.
Is that crazy?
And I'm like, and I've looked at some artists, I'm like, that is a really good thing. Like, you could do that forever, but they have that itch to just, I don't know, like change. And I'm like, ooh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you I don't know. I like what I do, and I like to evolve. You know what I mean? Like always trying to do new things and surprise people. A lot of that comes with the words. Like for me, it is always different because I'm always writing new things, new phrases. I'm exploring as a writer. That's another thing that I've said that some people might not realize about my work is everything I've ever painted on a wall as far as words resonate with something going on in my life. That's how it works. Like if a company comes to me or somebody comes to me and says, I love what you do, but here's what I wanted to say. I'm like, that's not what I do. You know what I mean? That has a knee-jerk reaction to advertising, like too many chefs in the kitchen kind of thing. But it has to resonate with something going on in my life. It might not be something I'm going through now.
Sure.
Because I've put up pieces and they're like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, well, I was talking about something that happened 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So I'm always, as a writer, exploring things that either happened 5 minutes ago, 20 years ago, a girl in grade school, just anything. You know what I mean? So that's cool, but it's always changing. There's always new words out there, and that keeps me as a writer and an artist happy. But I also am looking for different, ways to fill walls in just creative ways. Currently working on a concept for murals that will hopefully be part of my evolution. People look at it and they'll know it's me, but it's very different from what you see now. You know what I mean?
What is it?
I'll say it because I already did it in London and a couple places where I tried to mark my territory on the idea. But do you know what a ghost mural is?
Nope.
A ghost mural is an old ad that you would see that was painted on the building, but it's dilapidated so much that it's faded.
Okay.
I love that. Every artist approaches a canvas or a wall saying, I want to make the most vibrant, crisp, and clean piece. I want to approach a wall, and I'm currently figuring out techniques to do that larger and larger, where it'll look like it's been there for 20 years. Cool. So you'll know it's me, my font with the words, and there'll be a typewriter somewhere, and it'll say Wordsmith established 2013 kind of vibe, of those old ads, but it'll look like it's faded and
very cool.
And I love great idea. And I want to do it both renegade and commission. I know I've already had a couple cities say, hey, when you got that idea, we want one of those. But I want to do it renegade because I want people to look at it and go, and that wasn't there yesterday. Why does it look like it's been there 20 years? So it's a cool approach. But now I have to really get my butt in gear. And again, I feel like I've marked my territory on the idea, but I need to do it more. So it doesn't. It's that 100 monkeys theory. Like once you come up with something, it's like, somewhere else is thinking the same thing. So
totally.
I don't want to get,
Totally. I worked in television. After a while, I realized not everyone was stealing the idea that I had. They were just coming up. It was just that time for that idea. Yeah. The great thing that I think is like the coolest, aesthetically, the most pleasing thing for me is seeing layers of graffiti, layers of stuff ripped down, maybe some wheat paste that has been ripped down, and I love that used, roughed up look.
And I say I never go over anybody, and I don't. That's an honest thing. But I have seen walls where that rip and the color, and it's so saturated with color. You could see no. I have one on my phone actually. You can see no artist of who it is, but just whatever the color of the wall and everything, like that was a wall in London.
So awesome.
Yeah.
The Los Angeles airport has you know what I'm referencing?
Yes. But I'll put a piece on top of that because you can't get a better background. That's 10 years of doing a base coat kind of thing. It's a beautiful thing when you come across those walls.
The LAX International Airport has one of the greatest examples
of that. Is that the one that's elevated?
Yes.
100%. I love that thing.
Spectacular.
I love that thing. Yeah.
I
don't know the artist. That's a shame. But
I don't either.
It's amazing. It's an amazing, amazing piece.
I also think it's controversial.
I did think
I've heard a lot of people dog it out. I think
because they don't think it. Oh no, it's beautiful. Yeah. It's like, I don't know, street artists in general, I think we look at cities and walls in a totally different way. And that is what that person's doing. I mean, they did it as a sculpture in the airport, but they were recreating what we're talking about. And I think it's beautiful, but some people look at the walls and they don't see anything, or they see like, why don't they clean that up kind of thing. And that's amazing.
Gross.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I love that. I love going, I go to cities and I love that about me. Like Like there's a monument over here, but I'm looking at the dilapidated wall
Right.
over here.
You know what I also a look that I also always love and I'm drawn to is layers of stickers.
Yeah.
Layers
Yeah.
of bumper stickers.
100%.
Not necessarily bumper stickers, but all kinds of
Yeah.
stickers. Band stickers.
Sticker culture is an amazing thing. Yeah.
I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
You see that New Orleans has so many great examples of these textures, and you get this beat up red brick over something. It's just great.
100%.
So this podcast is called Painful Lessons. Where would you, is there, I don't know that I'm familiar if you've been through any kind of pain or something. I think that it's interesting that street art, I was bringing you in. I thought, oh my gosh, she's going to have so many great stories of overcoming, let's say, just cops and stuff.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about your background. Where do you get this creative juice?
My painful background
yeah,
or just my background?
I guess really I'm asking about your painful background.
Well, again, my background is I'm a writer, you know what I mean? So I'm always exploring that. Like the things I've written is like I have a novel and it's not autobiographical at all. Some people think it is because I was writing about Hollywood and a kid trying to find himself.
What's the novel called?
What's it about?
I didn't know you had a novel.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. That's part of the wordsmith story. Like I had written a novel and then went through the process of trying to get it published, and it did get published. It's an amazing story. But during that process, I was spending so much time in front of the computer that I'm a smart guy. I'm like, I need an active hobby. I need something that, even though I'm doing what I love, I need to get whatever, the blood flowing and just, you know, some exercise or just whatever. So it ended
But
up
also
being the street.
tasks finished each time. It's a great feeling when you finish a mural.
Absolutely.
Done. Oh, great.
Oh, absolutely. And that was also the thing. I was getting up. I'm an early person, but I started getting up like at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning to go do art. But I'd come back energized, you know what I mean? Just with this thing. And then I would, you know, write all day, and it was great. Like it fit the bill of what I wanted when I'm like, okay, I need an active hobby. Again, never expected to make a dime, and it just took off, and it's a crazy, amazing story. But the novel was getting published around that time when I started doing the street art. And the novel is called The Holden Age of Hollywood.
Okay.
Holden Age of Hollywood. And it's the way I describe it is it combines a lot of genres of it's a mystery, a noir novel, an unexpected love story, but it's embedded in the film world, but it's not like they always say, if you're in Hollywood, don't write about Hollywood.
Yeah.
I broke that role, but I broke it by turning the whole thing upside down. And the greatest compliment that I got after the book, like it won some awards and it got great reviews. Nobody knew who Phil Brody was, so it didn't sell a ton. But I got messages from people that had worked in the industry for decades, and they're like, "Oh my God, I love this book. Thank you for writing this book." So it was really great. And then, this is a long story, but the publisher a couple years ago went under, and all the rights reverted back to me, which was weird, but then also amazing because I republished the book under Wordsmith. So a whole new audience has discovered it. And that also has led to currently people in Hollywood are reading it. I'm back to having those meetings about, you know, optioning it. So it's been full circle, which is great. So I do long form writing. I've written scripts. I used to work in documentary TV. I used to work in advertising, as I said. So that's what I was saying at the beginning. Like I love to write in a lot of different mediums. And I say this, like I'm currently writing in the medium of street art, and I'm getting that satisfaction of writing every day and getting read every day. Like that's another line I came up with. Like I'm getting read every day all over the world, and for any writer, that's the goal. So
oh my God.
The fact that it happened through street art, it's just like I love it. Like it satisfies me. I do miss long form writing, and I continue to, you know, dabble in it and come up with ideas. And I'm currently writing something with a writing manager that could be novels and could be potentially a TV show. So I love that, but I also need to invent the 36-hour day because I'm doing what I love, and it's like finding that bandwidth to do all that and still, you know what I mean? Again, I'm very happy, but to have a life and everything, it's juggling like so much, but it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have.
Dude, I'm so happy that I'm not like feeling like a friend, like you're a friend, you know, the word frenemy?
Yeah.
If you were a frenemy of mine, it would be a real problem. Like you were someone that I cheer for. I feel zero competition. But man, I have to say, your voice is gorgeous. And if I was,
I have a face for radio. Is that what you're saying?
no, I'm not at all. No, you have these beautiful eyes. Are you kidding me? Jeez, I'm just saying. Like, I'm so happy that I don't feel competitive with you, because
Yeah.
if I did, I would really hate things.
Yeah.
Because I'm like you. Like I, by the way, think of this podcast. I think of it as an extension of my art, the same way that you do writing and everything. And man, I'm like, as I'm listening to you, I'm like, dude, you do not at all have a face for radio. You have a face for TV. You should get into something like this, because your voice is gorgeous,
Yeah.
dude. Oh my word.
That's cool. Thank you. That's a great compliment.
Yeah,
Great compliment.
yeah, terrific. I'm not gonna try to hook up with you, but man, if I was at all confused, your eyes would draw me in.
This is the best.
Your eyes would draw me in.
Backwards ass compliment.
I can't even imagine those beautiful blue eyes. Jeez, gadzooks. No, it is a backwards compliment to say. Listen. You're doing so well that it makes me really grateful that I don't root against you, because this would be a hard life.
Well, we were talking about, we touched on it a little bit, and I don't want to talk about hate, but again, I get a lot of love. Like, people love what I do. I get messages from people that at first were intimidating, because they're like, thank God I stumbled upon this piece. Your words helped me through a tough time. And it was, I would say, when I first started getting the messages, daunting. But then I'm like, I'm just doing what I love. I'm going to continue doing it. And these messages are awesome. And it's not always like heavy. Like, there are people that like, I sent a romantic piece to a girl, and now we're engaged, and we want to commission a piece for our wedding. Like, I'm part of these people's like courtships, and I came up with a funny thing of Wordsmith getting people laid since 2013, because I get so many of those messages, and I love that. But then also just the outpouring of love is what I lean on. Like, it's like fuel for the creative fire, and I love that. But then I do get some hate. But to your point, it's kind of like, why would I listen to that? First of all, there was a great quote. Somebody said, like, never take criticism from somebody you wouldn't ask advice from. Mm-hmm. These people that are spewing hate, and there's another thing that says, if someone's spewing hate, they're not doing better than you. You know what I mean? So,
totally.
So it's coming from a place where they need to work that out. But I get hate, and I just kind of ignore it. But it's also... It's funny because again, if you know me, if you know why I'm doing this, and if you know like how I'm doing it and everything, it's kind of like, not that there shouldn't be hate. People cannot like what you do.
Totally.
But there's a difference between disliking and spewing hate, is what we're saying. But it does come, and I just kind of like, let's put it aside. And,
give me an example. What do they say? What could they possibly?
Oh, they everything from... it's garbage, your Hallmark, you're an Instagram artist, to just like everything. Like yeah. So I don't know.
Patchy, yeah.
Yeah, and
sue me.
My life has been threatened twice. Like, I kid you not.
What?
Like, I'm like, if you're that bent out of shape on what somebody does, it's just like, whatever.
That's good art, by the way.
I agree. Well, I say that too. Like, any art that affects people, you're doing something, and that can be both extremes. But if you are affecting people, it's if nobody's noticing you, that's the frustration. But and I don't want to point not point fingers, but come to conclusions. But I'm guessing that hate comes from somebody that's not getting a lot of notice. You know what I mean? And
of course,
is pissed.
What a hack!
That
I'm doing nothing.
And then you hear this, and some artists have explored it and stuff. Like, you hear this, like, oh, I could do that, and I'm like, okay, that's great.
Yeah, tell me when you're done.
I did it. And I came up with an idea. When I came up with that idea of it's so simple, typewriter with a page coming out of it. I actually researched if anybody had done that in the street art world.
Yeah.
The moment I discovered nobody had, because it was so simple and because it made sense for me, I couldn't get out there fast enough. I actually went out there with a store-bought stencil of a typewriter and put pages on it. And the moment I got that adrenaline rush that you get with the first time you do any street art, we'll talk about the adrenaline rush you get the first time you do it. I literally 2 days later was, Googling how do you make stencils, and I designed that typewriter that you see, and it takes from a lot of different style of of typewriters, but I designed that. And if anything, like you said, I've been doing the same thing or the same image. It got simpler after a couple years, but for the last 10 years, it's been that image. But
Sure.
that's the power of repetition that Shepard Fairey talks about, that I didn't even realize I was doing in the beginning, but by coming up with that image, that motif that people saw. And I heard this early on. People would be like, "Oh, I saw the typewriter and I had to get close to see what it said." You know what I mean? And I love that, but I didn't even realize I was doing that. That was a happy accident of the repetition
Sure.
of it. Always painted, always there, and then it was like a beacon or a calling for people to see what the words were. I
Shepard
think,
Fairey is delightful.
yeah. So I think we got
Love
off
that
topic, but it's just like, yeah.
I'm curious. You know Shepard?
I do.
Does he
I
get
got a
hate?
good story
Does
about
he get
that.
hate?
What's that?
Does he get hate?
I think, yeah, he does. He does.
Everyone's successful.
Banksy gets hate.
100%. I think, yeah, Banksy gets hate. Yeah. So before I started doing street art, I loved.
I get
street
some hate. I want you to know I get some hate.
I loved street art. Like I was always inspired by it, and it was the big three. It was Banksy, it was Shepard Fairey, and it was Invader. That like it's a Mount Rushmore. I mean, it's just amazing. But early on, and really early on, almost too early in my career, like it was early 2015, which was like maybe just over a year of doing it. I was at an event. It was I'm gonna sound like it was Art of Elysium, and they did acknowledge me as an emerging street artist. But I get to this event, and Shepard Fairey's there, and I'm like, this is a hero of mine. First of all, they say never meet your heroes, and I have a couple of those stories.
I have those stories.
This is not one of them, but he was there, and I'm like, oh God, I gotta go talk to him. And it was after the event, and it was like in a VIP room or whatever, loud music, really dark. But I went up and talked to him, and I couldn't hear a word he said. I don't think he heard a word I said. And it just kind of went back and forth. I went home that night, walked to my car so dejected, like Charlie Brown, like I just met Shepard Fairey, and he literally couldn't hear a word I said. He doesn't know who I am. And I was so bummed. Flash forward to maybe 2 months later, there's another event. I go up to him. There's no music. I go up to him. I go, "Hey, I met you a couple months ago. But my artist name is Wordsmith." And he goes, "You're Wordsmith? You get up a lot." We had a great conversation. And through the years, we've been very friendly and we're friends.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. He's such a great guy. What I'm saying is that night I literally walked home like, Shepard Fairey said I get up a lot. And I was like a kid on Christmas, 9 years old.
Amazing.
When your hero tells you that you get up, and Shepard Fairey is one of the most prolific street artists of all time. And he said the first words out of his mouth was, "You get up a lot." I literally,
awesome.
you could not. You talk about fuel for creativity. I was shot out of a rocket. I probably did 100 pieces in the next 2 weeks because I just couldn't believe it. So that's
cool.
a very good meet your hero story.
For the layman, what does get up a lot mean?
Get up a lot means like get your art up on walls, get up in the streets. Like get up a lot means like Shepard Fairey started doing the Obey. First of all, he started with stickers, but he started doing the Obey wheatpaste.
You tag a bunch.
Campaign. I mean, like he was putting this up in every nook and cranny of the world, and that's what it was like. He was getting up a ton. So for him to say that about my work, I was blown away. And then I heard through the grapevine, I'm not starting rumors, but his wife is a big fan of my work.
Wow.
And I love that. Amanda, I've met her, I've talked to her briefly, but I think she likes the romantic pieces, and that was awesome. It's just awesome. It's just great.
So I have someone that I very much respect, another street artist that I very much respect. By the way, I do some street art. I primarily am a studio artist, but I met Alec Monopoly, and I contacted him because I was seeing his stuff everywhere, and I went to his place. And we discussed collaborating on something. Mm-hmm. And I used to take a bunch of drugs. And when I went to his place, I was on drugs. And I also, at the time, was very excited about running for office. I was going to run for Congress in the West Hollywood district to kind of do an unexpected thing, go as a Republican. And at the time, it was Henry Waxman was the congressman, and he was very liberal. And I thought it would be what a splashy thing for an artist to go and be super conservative. And it was just a clever idea that I had. And I thought that I wanted to have an army of taggers go out, and I was going to think of them as an army, and I suppose the leader of that army I was going to call a general. So I went over to meet him. We had a great time at his place. We were going to do some pieces together, and I really we were getting along famously. And then I go, hey, listen, I'm doing this thing. What would you think about being the general of this army? And he goes, I'm going to be your general. And I just felt things went south from there. From whatever camaraderie we had developed went away instantly, and it was so clear. And I always think this is sort of something that I'm entertained by. And I think, boy, I really went about that wrong.
Yeah.
And that was when he was just getting started. I think he had developed probably some relationships that it was clear he was going to blow up. Mm-hmm. But he had offered I had a whole stack of things, and he was going to work on them. And somehow I just go, oh, we'll do this later. We'll just do this later. Who knows how much they would be worth right now. But
that's a funny story.
Yeah. I felt, and it isn't the first or the last time that I've accidentally bruised another artist's ego or made some, but it was a 180 switch with that comment.
Interesting.
Do you work with Alc Monopoly?
No, I've met him, but I haven't worked with him.
I didn't even know his real name. I can't remember what I was calling him at the time.
Yeah. I don't know if
but man, he gets up. That's for sure.
He definitely does.
He definitely up. And he has done a great job commanding a huge quantity of cash. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
He does some great stuff. Every year at Art Basel, he has some he always makes a terrific splash. So, dude, what a delight. But let's go back to this paint. It's like, can I be your therapist for a second? Actually, let's think of this as you just meet a new therapist. They're like, what do you even want to talk about?
That's a loaded question. The one thing I talk about, because it is embedded in my work, is I have muses, and I had a muse that was there from almost day one. It's this fantastic woman, and just love her to death, and she was very much a muse, an actress. She's a muse, actress in Hollywood, and I was a writer. You know what I mean? So there was that kind of relationship going on, and at first it was through the writing. But then it started with the street art, and she inspired a lot of pieces, especially especially the romantic pieces, but also the inspirational and the aspirational, because I started when I launched Wordsmith, the idea, I was saying things to people in Hollywood that I wish they would have said to me when I first arrived.
Ooh.
But I'm that person. Before I was doing street art, I would text friends, you know what I mean, and be like, you got this, you do, you know what I mean, you're gonna kill it, and just things like that. Dream bigger, you know what I mean, just persevere, all these things that are embedded in my work now. But I did that with her, and we had always had great conversations that would amount to, oh, I love the way I said that, and then I turned it into a piece, you know what I mean? So she was always musing, she was always inspiring. But I guess midway through the Wordsmith thing, I don't know if I'm getting the timeline exactly. I went through heartbreak. She chose somebody else, and it was brutal. I not only lost my muse, because we weren't talking to each other for several years, but I lost her, and it was tough, but it led to a shift in Wordsmith for a period of time where I started doing romantic pieces, but they were about heartbreak. And I remember the first ones I put out there where I'm like, I don't know how my audience is going to react, but the amazing thing is they might have been more popular than the positive ones, because everybody's gone through heartbreak. So I was just cracking open my heart and just laying it on the line. and again, it's just like I got a huge outpouring from that, you know what I mean? And it was amazing. So even through the non-musing, she was musing me, and life is weird. Life shifts and things of that nature. Like she's back in my life and we're talking because of things that circumstances and stuff. So it's great. Like it's a great place. But when you said pain, you know what I mean, and especially related to the art, I can't even stress how much it was. It was crippling. I'm going to use that word. It was really tough because, it's weird. I look at it now from a different angle, and it's like I said, I would have talked about it 2 years ago in a different light because it was very hard to learn to walk again. You know what I
Sure.
mean? As far as like losing that muse. And I researched muses too, because I'm like, I've never had writer's block. I've never experienced it that. Like, I think you shift and just work through it and work on something else. And then it's that whole thing of the best ideas come when you're in the shower. When you're not thinking about it, you'll figure it out. But with losing a muse of this caliber, I was like, I don't know if I can express things, but it was trying to express the positive when I wasn't feeling very positive. Like I have a piece that says it's one of my most popular pieces, and it might even be something I'm defined by, but aspire to inspire others and the universe will take note. I fucking hated the universe for 2 years, and I'm like painting aspire to inspire others and the universe will take note. And I'm like, I was mad at the universe. So that was tough, but coming up with new stuff that was positive is what I'm getting at, was very, learning to walk again. But then I shifted, and it's as compelling to talk about the pain, to explore the pain. I mean, that's what any great artist or writer does, is explore their lives, especially the pain in their lives. So that was liberating and tough, but it was an interesting experience for Wordsmith, because I think I am known as very positive. And I am a positive person, but when you go through something like that in your life, you can't help but, it can't help but show up in your art, whether it's,
Dude, heartbreak and you lose your muse. That's a punch.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. And again, I'm in a good place now, but I think if we'd had this conversation 2 years ago, it would have been different, because I was I don't know. It was tough. It was still tough. I was angry.
Of course.
Yeah.
You like everyone's like, hey, what do you think about maybe writing a mural about? Oh my gosh, love you. Like, don't fall in love with a bitch.
It was this is a tangent, but it's part of the story. Like the year after it happened, like it was a crazy year too. It was like 2018, and it was so busy. I was just, I always refer to it as, oh, that's the year I ran, because literally I was just working, traveling, just going. And when 2018 was done, what happened, 11 months ago felt like it happened 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that was weird too, to kind of less embed yourself into something that you avoided for all those, months. And it was very prolific, but right in the center of that, a company approached me for these walls downtown, and they were massive, like 30 feet by 30 feet. And I was curating like 5 other artists. Actually, Meg was one of the artists. Also, Finch was one of the artists. But I painted this piece of the muse, and I remember like the other artists or friends of mine, they're like, when they saw like the concept and the mock-ups and stuff, they go, oh, you shouldn't paint that. Don't paint that. Why would you paint that? And I'm like, oh, I need to paint that. Like I was painting her away. And it's one of my favorite pieces of all time.
Wow.
And she's seen it. Like I didn't know she saw it back in the day, but we've talked about it since. And I don't care. It's not about now. It's not about her. I needed to do it for me. I thought she would never see it. Like we were not talking. We were not, she was not in my life. But I needed to paint that piece as therapy, and it was crazy. I don't know how I got on that topic, but this is what we do as artists. We explore the pain, and that's what. Can
you say who this is?
No. I mean, you don't know who. I mean, it's
Emma Stone.
No, she's not. She's a very good actress. She's a very good actress. But
Meryl Streep,
a famous name. But yeah, no, she's not. Yeah, I don't want to go there, just out of respect to her. But
cool.
The other thing I was going to say, like you said,
we want to talk about Halle Berry again.
You said, I guess it's painful. You said mistakes, but Painful Lessons podcast, mistakes. Yeah.
Painful Lessons.
Yeah. but it's also make mistakes, right? Don't
no, I like saying we own mistakes. And so you own kind of that pain that happened to you. Mistakes is just sort of a clever thing. It's really, I think, owning any sort of rough period of your life. And if you can think of how to use that as fuel or as a appreciate that because you have a new perspective.
Yeah.
And ideally, we like guests that then have a sense of humor about that. That's what we love the most. That for me, that's the sweet spot. And that's, you have that. Primarily what I relate to most are people who are in recovery and have a real appreciation for going through those sort of rock bottom periods or something, because if someone's in recovery, then they're a much better place than they were. And I love a real sense of humor about, we call them war stories.
Yeah.
But you have this, it's like, there's nothing, I mean, there's very few things that are more difficult than heartbreak.
Yeah. And I mean, it's obvious. I'm a very romantic person. So it was tough. And then there was a period of time.
You're not an addict, I can just tell.
No, I think I actually thought I had an addictive personality, and several people have pointed out to me that I do not. Like I enjoy things, but I never take things to excess. But what was I going to say? No, I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about just before that?
Emma Stone.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought. It was very interesting to me, and this is also why I won't name the person, but that's beside the point. It was very tough for me to still get this outpouring from people during that time, because especially the romantic, I'll tell you, like right around this time, LA Weekly also did an article on me about right around Valentine's Day, saying like, this is the artist that connects people. So it was, but and that was brutal. The timing of it couldn't have been more, you got to be kidding me. But what I'm getting at is, during that time, I was getting this outpouring of people saying thank you for the romantic notions and what I did for their relationships and their connections and stuff like that. And I was going through this period of time where I'm like, so the one person that I wrote all those words, they fell upon, deaf ears or this.
God.
And it was really, really, I've never talked about that, but it was really, really tough, because I'm like, the only person that it matters is not in my life. And then all these other people are saying you basically are the catalyst for
touched my
us.
heart. Oh my gosh, you touched my heart. It made me.
It was really difficult. Yeah.
I wish I would have.
But I still try to, whatever, even through it. Like,
what an amazing story though.
Yeah. It was tough. Yeah. I actually, at one point, and I couldn't go there, but I thought it would make a great documentary, because at the heart of that, of a tortured artist, like going through that of the one, I'm repeating myself, but the one person versus the masses, it was difficult. So
we're done.
Mic drop.
We like a Irish accent.
And on a sad note.
You couldn't do that with you. Yeah, you're such a jolly person. Man, thanks.
Thank you. This was fantastic conversation.
Wait, actually,
you're a good listener. I'll give you a compliment. Like I've said this in a couple podcasts, but I do a lot of these, but I've done them where I don't even think the person is listening. They're just waiting to ask their next question.
Yeah.
You are the exact opposite. Like, this is a fluid conversation, and I'll say things that are a meatball for an obvious, question or follow up or digging deeper, and you do that. So this was fantastic. Like, this is a conversation.
You are a delight.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wanted to promote, or is there something that you want to pitch? You're always putting something new up.
Wordsmith with no vowels. If you Google it, go on Instagram, Twitter, that's me. And then I have a website, that talks about me, shows my art, and I do merch, but the book is also there. It's just like, and I'm not greedy, but it's just like, if you like what I do, that's where to go to find the stuff that I offer. So everything from stickers to prints to anything. So wordsmith.com.
Spectacular.
That's it.
I should have tricked you into going, oh yeah, and all of our guests, they do a little mural outside the studio.
Oh, I'm going to come back. I didn't bring anything, but I'll paint you. I'll paint. 100%.
I'm actually moving to I'm moving from this awesome place.
great.
Here, and by the way, there's a whole upstairs. I'll take you around. I'm moving from here to Westwood in
Nice.
April. Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Well, whenever I'll come paint and do something awesome. So I'll be able to get up in Westwood. That's how I look at it.
Do you know the word mensch?
Mensch, yeah.
Mensch is like a Hebrew word. I'm not Jewish, but I know it's something that I would like to steal from the Jews. It's an incredible word. If they love somebody,
Oh yeah, yeah.
they go, oh, it's a mensch.
Yeah.
And it just means the highest quality individual. The other thing that I would like to steal from Jewish people is at a wedding. It is so much fun when they put a bride on a chair and dance them around. It's the most fun thing ever.
Yeah.
Every wedding should have that.
Every video I've seen of that, it looks very festive, and it is pretty cool.
I was just at a wedding, this coolest wedding I've ever been to in Mexico. The founder of Aviator Nation got married to this girl, and they were both madly in love with each other. And they had a wedding where it's just like there was no budget. There was zero desire to compromise on anything, and it was like ultimate vision. They made everything happen. And it was at this incredible place, and I did think to myself, I go, I feel everyone would really appreciate it if I got them on a chair. And I just never did.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like the one thing that should be culturally appropriated. No matter who's getting married,
I agree with
add the
that.
chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, so much love. Amazing.
This has been great.